Jericho asks, do you think like I do, that if Biden and the Dems vowed to legalize marijuana on day one, they would win in a landslide? Jericho thinks it's an easy win. What do you guys think?
Well, speaking of the Joe Kennedy and Markey race, Joe Kennedy didn't support marijuana legalization up until like a year ago or something insane, and he used it on the ground. That's a way cops use to do searches, is like when they using the pretense of marijuana searches. It's such. I mean, I agree. Of course it's an easy win. It's very popular. There isn't a meaningful kind of, I mean, not really like a huge meaningful like kind of industry pushing against it. And it would be just like there is no real downside to doing it, but the fact that they don't really do it or not doing it so enthusiastically shows just how out of step they are with their base on a very basic level.
Yeah, and look, we have to also think about like the motivating factors, right? I mean, so many of these Democratic politicians have gone on the record and admitted to using pot themselves. So why is it that they refuse to legalize it? And there are like so many industries that have spent so much money on ensuring that we don't reclassify marijuana, that we continue prohibiting it on a federal level. And, that it goes back to the bribery, the corruption, all of which we've legalized, and it's just part and parcel of how our government is run now. So I think that's really at the heart of why they're doing what they're doing and refusing to legalize it. I think if you get rid of that, if you get rid of those financial interests, I think maybe we would have a different situation. But right now, I mean, we're even like correctional officers spend quite a bit of money to ensure that we keep criminalizing people for possession of marijuana. Because think about how our prison population would be affected if we legalized drugs. Then you don't really need as many people working in these jails and these prisons. So there's like a whole infrastructure around criminalizing substances, and we need to address that if we want any real change. You got to remember, politicians, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, are self-interested. They're looking out for their own careers, and we want to believe that they're in it to do the right thing. But those types of politicians are rare. Very few of them.
Right. I would say it's the question asking like, would this equate a win for the Democrats or Biden?
Maybe win meaning like an easy win. I took it as just like that on that issue or whatever.
Okay, sorry. So I guess
not necessarily for the election. I mean, there's no downsides and there's only upsides. But yeah, it doesn't guarantee a win in November. No way.
I agree with you.
Well, and just on that point, I mean, I think like the fact that Biden is so milquetoast, like we've been talking about all day, and we'll continue to talk about every single day until the election, and hopefully afterwards, is like the fact that it's a coin toss in a lot of the country. Not everywhere, obviously. Like where I'm in New York, it's obviously like hardcore Biden, like because you have the typical liberals, but now also like the never Trumpers. Mm-hmm. But like a lot of the country, I really do think it like there's a good chance some of it's just going to be a coin toss, like of who ends up coming out on top. Now, I think marijuana legalization could be the thing that pulls you over the top there, but elections are decided by healthcare and jobs. Like that's just what it always comes down to. It's like, who do I think is going to guarantee me, or like maybe not guarantee me a job, but like create the conditions where I'll be able to get a better paying job. And in this country, of course, healthcare is tied to employment. So, part of that is you want like a better healthcare plan because we're all sick, and especially now in a pandemic, like it's all the more important. And just on Anna's note of like politicians are self-interested, and kind of tying this back into what Mark Dudzik was saying a moment ago, which, big ups to Mark Dudzik, who's like, as Nando was saying, like one of the most important kind of figures carrying the torch for many years. And everyone should check out the labor campaign for single payer because it's doing incredibly important organizing work. But because politicians are self-interested, and because we don't really have a genuine party structure in this country, like the parties are just fundraising apparatuses, you can appeal to people's individual interests over their party interests at times. That like a politician, like this happens in the other direction, but like in West Virginia, what's his name? The very conservative
Joe Manchin.
Joe Manchin, right? Like Joe Manchin, like doesn't really give two shits about the party. I don't think, like, you know, just in a very limited sense, but like he's much more interested in kind of furthering his own career and like following the money interests like in his state. If we could do the same, not on a money level, but like in a public pressure campaign level on politicians, there's a lot of like what, again, the Labor Campaign for Single Payer and other groups have been doing for things like Medicare for All, is pressuring individual politicians one at a time to like consider, well, it's in my self-interest to support this legislation. And so there's a big tangent, but again, just on that point, like it's one of the greatest flaws of our electoral system, but it also, like in this particular case, can be useful if like we're able to have these kinds of big mass campaigns and these like highly targeted, highly coordinated across the country campaigns.
Yeah.